if I had a phone with a stylus, I would try and really use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know when the last time I used that was, or before now?
Never.
Never.
That was the only time you've ever used it.
You wrote hi to me when I was sitting over there on the computer.
One time before.
And it was 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago.
That's goofy.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
And hello to all of you. This is Notes for Next Time, episode 4. We hope you've had a good holiday so far. It's not just over, or it's not quite over yet, but
Well, New Year's is coming.
New Year's is coming. How was your guys' holiday? How was your guys' Christmas?
It was very good. Peaceful.
Santa was very nice to me.
Good.
Aw.
Or whoever else you believe in.
Wow.
Yeah, whoever else you believe in.
Santa exists, so.
Happy Kwanzaa, happy
Hanukkah.
and Merry Christmas. Those are the only 3 that matter. So,
That mattered.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I know. We're alienating people as the more I speak. Someone else host the show, quick. We have a lot of things that we want to cover today, guys.
Yes, we do.
A lot of things.
My Christmas was okay. I have a crazy story to tell you guys off air because I cannot tell it now.
That's
I
fair.
always enjoy your story.
I won the Powerball. No.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Can we get better microphones?
If I won the Powerball, you best believe it would go into decking out all of this and making us have the best equipment known to man. So,
But for now,
we have this,
which is still pretty good.
which is pretty good.
Absolutely.
For 4 episodes.
We got new chairs.
We did get new chairs. Thanks, Mike.
They don't squeak.
They don't squeak. They're
And
comfy.
they're padded.
They're padded chairs. God, we're really rising.
Hey.
But last Saturday, I watched a bit of The Witcher,
Mhm.
and by a bit I mean all of it. Binged it with Leah.
It's a big bit.
It was.
I was going to say something else. I thought there was going to be a TCH at the end, or a CH at the end of
No,
big bitch. So I
It-
thought
it
what
was
you
a-
were going to say.
Wow.
it was a big bitch. 8 hours of content, and I think we finished at like 1 a.m. or something.
So you started early.
Yeah, she came over pretty early, which is crazy because we always just usually hang out in the evenings because that's when we're both free or whatever. But she came over, we watched it. She adored it,
Yeah.
like from start to finish. Taylor, I know you said your dad has been
My
watching.
dad's been watching and he likes it a lot. I've got the first episode in. Just haven't had the time, but it's on my list. That and there's a couple other movies on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm really excited for 1917.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
I was quite confused and then I saw, limited release on Christmas, goes
Yeah.
wide in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, man, you got to get in for those Oscar noms.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is probably what it was for. That's
That's
undoubtedly.
100% what it was
undoubtedly
for.
what it was for.
What else would it be for?
Yeah.
Just a nice
Unless-
Christmas present for
or then
a
it's
few
just-
a few local theaters.
Then it's just a January movie that's
Really, really good.
really good in January, which isn't something you see all the time.
No. The Grudge in January looks bad. Can't wait to see it. There's
Does-
like 4 really bad horror movies coming out.
Does it look bad?
I think it doesn't look great.
I think I just saw the one trailer and I was like,
There's
all right.
another horror movie coming out. It's about some sort of babysitting movie, and it looks so bad. It's with the dude who was in Stranger Things and the dude with the glasses, Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard. Yeah.
He's in it, and he looks like a teenager now, which is weird.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it looks terrible.
You saw It Chapter 2
I did.
and very, very much disliked it.
I did. It was.
I heard
I
it
don't-
was a lot and got real goofy.
It's a lot, and it is very weird. Like Pennywise is not even like considered. Like he's obviously the villain, but like they try to they distract so much from Pennywise to all this other ridiculous shit that means literally nothing to the story. Not to mention the fact that it was probably an hour to an hour and a half longer than it should have been.
It was a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
3:45, right?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it was-
I'm thinking of 2:45.
Yeah, you're thinking of
The Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 hours.
It was, as a whole, like it wasn't that good of a movie. Like Chapter 1 was a lot better than Chapter 2
Yeah.
was as a general movie, but it was so long, and there's so many scenes that feel like they're drawn out just for the sake of just runtime that have no meaning to it. So
Which
yeah,
is so weird.
not a fan.
Still kind of
Because studios, yeah, well, yeah. I'll see it if it's on a streaming service,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later.
Yes, we will.
But speaking, the reason I brought that movie up is Hard Wolf Finn guy, whatever his name is, Finn Wolfhard. I guess he and the other teens aged so much
Yeah,
between 1 and
they
2
had
that
to,
they had to
like-
de-age.
Yeah, which is
And apparently, did you notice?
Not
Oh,
really.
cool. That's good, I guess. De-aging's huge now, man.
Yeah.
Irishman, which you notice for about the first 5-10 minutes, and then you don't notice at all.
Really?
At least I didn't. It's there, but it's done well enough to where you're like...
I feel like your brain eventually is like...
You suspend it.
That's their face.
Yeah. And I've heard from people that it's pretty bad in it chapter 2, but who knows? One person's trash is another person's treasure, as they say.
Not this one.
No, I mean, yeah,
the general consensus was that it is not a good movie.
Yeah, and then you said that, and I was like, well, I guess...
A lot of people said it was really funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
No.
Fair enough. You would know and we wouldn't.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if it were about like 90 minutes, 2 hours, I would have checked it out now, but when you say it's like past 2:30 and it's not very good, I'm like,
I want to dedicate that time. Yeah.
But anyway, Witcher, I liked it a lot. We watched all the 8 episodes that are on there now, the whole first season. And being a massive fan of the game franchise, especially Witcher 3, I was looking forward to this quite a bit. I thought it was kind of weird that they cast Henry Cavill off the bat, because apparently he's a very huge fan of the games.
Really?
I think he's a big gamer, which I always like when people who break the stereotype of who can be a gamer and who can't, because there's still people out there that assume that everyone who's a gamer is just
sweaty,
some sweaty
teenager.
Some dude in sweatpants who never leaves his basement or whatever. So Henry Cavill, when he heard they were making a show, he was like, hey, like he had his agents like constantly calling.
That's cool.
Like they were calling before they even had a showrunner for the show. And he got it, and he's great in it. He really embodies like somewhere in between of what Geralt's like from the games, to where he's at in the books. I don't really know chronologically where the show takes place. Very early, I think, way before the events of Witcher 3. I know that for sure. But right from the first episode, I liked it overall. No spoilers, but my biggest criticisms for the show is that it can get a bit wordy, and it's very much like the book pages are just kind of thrown to the screen, and it's a lot of exposition, it's a lot of lore, a lot of terminology that they just kind of haphazardly throw at you. And I watched the first episode twice. I watched it once on my own, and then when Leah came over, we rewatched it because she hadn't seen it. And the second time I watched it with subtitles. Yeah. And I was like, thank God. Yeah. Because there's so much terminology and stuff thrown around that it becomes like super hard to follow.
Gotcha.
Even for me, and I've put 372 hours into the game on PC. So,
and I've put 0 hours in.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would still be a show that I could get enjoyment out of? Or do you think it's like you should play the games to understand?
No, you definitely don't need to play the games, because it takes place way before those anyway. Yeah. And I think, and I don't know what it chooses to borrow from the novels and what it chooses to change to adapt to the screen. I think, because I haven't read the books, so I'm not by any means a expert on the Witcher series, but what I'm gathering is it's taking a lot of things from the books, and maybe even some things from the game, even though the timeline isn't close to it, and they're kind of putting their own spin on it. Cool. I could be totally wrong. There are a lot of things that are just taken straight from the book. Yeah. Things that I know about that had been in the books and are clearly just ripped from that. Being someone who's never read a book or played a game, I'd say you can get some enjoyment out of it. I would say be prepared for like super high fantasy. Yeah. Like it's legit fantasy. Like, which I'm cool as if I know that's what I'm getting into. Cool. If it like blindsides me, that's where I kind of get like, because and I think where people might, the one criticism I have about the show, the biggest two big criticisms is the writing at times. It's generally good, but they do so much lore dumping and terminology dumping that it can kind of be exhausting. And it was for me, at least. Leah had no problems following it. Like, no problems following it. She actually told me what was going on, and she's played about 6 hours of the video game, of Witcher 3, that is. And she was telling me she was filling me in. I was like, how are you following this? She's like, it's super simple. The law of surprise and the conjunction of the spheres and all these terms. And she knew she was following it no problem, and she absolutely adored it. Me, it's like the game is that. Like the game does dump those terms on you.
But you have so much time to...
Yeah, and you're not just a passive watcher when you play the game. You're
actually involved.
You're involved, you're interacting, you're choosing dialogue responses, you're choosing what quests you go on, all these huge things.
Sure.
So it's a little bit more engaging than just sitting back and watching people talk about lore. The biggest mistake people might make with this is going into it thinking it's going to be Game of Thrones, and it's not. There's a lot of similarities, and people have been saying, this is the thing that's going to fill your Game of Thrones like niche in your heart.
It's like medieval fantasy.
It's medieval fantasy that's dark, has swearing, cursing, sex, all of the stuff that Game of Thrones kind of brought to the forefront in terms of a medieval background. But it's a little bit more, I don't want to say intellectual because that sounds offensive, but there's a bit more stuff thrown at you as the audience member.
Okay.
And it does this thing, about the third episode in, you kind of start realizing this really isn't a spoiler, but it intercuts between different plots with different characters, but they're on different timelines. And the show does nothing to tell you about that. You kind of have to figure it out. Leah figured it out immediately.
Like one of your favorite movies, Dunkirk.
Well, yep, like one of my favorite movies, Dunkirk. I don't know if she had not been watching with me, I don't know when when I would have figured it out.
Yeah.
But it does this without any kind of, because it just cuts to different characters and you're assuming, oh, this is all happening simultaneously. It's not.
So there's no like visual cues.
Nope.
It's really just like,
you
get this out eventually.
Eventually you do start to piece it together. And eventually after maybe the third episode, if you start to get there mentally and you realize that, it all starts to make much more sense.
Yeah.
Because it's really cool in the way that it does it actually, because you're all in different timelines. So like the first 5-6 episodes, and then you start to see each character that you're following, which is essentially 3. Each character that you're following as it builds to the season finale, everything is current then.
That's dope.
Like it all moves forward and it becomes current, like at the very last episode. The action is great too. There's a fight scene at the end of the first episode that is incredible. The fight choreography is really top notch. There's just not a ton of it. It's kind of a lot of talking and going to places. But when there is action, even it being a budget show, they do it really, really well.
Cool.
So yeah.
I'll add it to my list of endless TV shows that I should be watching.
Yeah. This is getting longer.
Always. And yeah, I think I'm really interested to see where it goes. And I do think that it could have been adapted a bit better for the screen.
Do you know if they were getting a second season or not?
They are.
Yeah.
We are. I don't know if it started shooting or not, but I'm assuming, because I know Mando got confirmed for fall 2020 for season 2. I doubt they'll have that kind of a quick turnaround for this. I could be totally wrong. I
thought Netflix had already ordered a second season for it.
They did. I just don't know when it would be landing. Yeah. So I think it's great. I can't wait to see where it goes. As a first season, I think it's successful, and yeah, it's cool.
Very cool.
Check it out. But yeah, what are we talking about next? I can't kind of
You
forget.
just mentioned the Mandalorian.
Talk right?
About that a little bit.
Yeah. What did you think about the latter half of the season?
Overall, I liked it a lot. There were really, I just have a huge problem with Chapter 5. Chapter 4 was fine. Chapter 6 was pretty good. And the rest, I think, were like legitimately really good. I think it wrapped up pretty well. I think watching it weekly is cool. I don't know if it would benefit from having a binge option, because that might take the blow of the bad episodes out of there. But I don't know, there's pros and cons to watching something weekly or having the option to just kind of dive in and digest it all.
Well, you made a comment earlier before we started the show that if you being able to like have it one episode at a time, like it keeps you engaged in the story. Whereas like with The Witcher, like you can blow through the entire season and then you just kind of move on.
Yeah.
So
I think that can
like
kind of
you said,
affect
pros
the
and
fan
cons
base
for sure.
too.
It's kind of like what we do with movies too, when you think about it too, though. Like Star Wars, take that for instance. We were so stoked for it, saw it, all right,
so
and then it'll be another 3 years till we get another film. So it's similar in that way, I guess. Like that kind of like run up to the jump and then it's over. You know,
If it's released weekly, it can kind of prolong your engagement with it. It can kind of keep everyone.
As long as it's good.
Yeah, as long as it's good.
And that really does. When your episodes are bad and you have a weekly release schedule,
It really sucks because it's like, wow, I have to wait. That it just feels like a wasted week now.
Yeah, because chapter 4 was like pretty good, and then chapter 5 was bad, and then you were like, do I even want to bother? Because 2 weeks of anticipation, whatever, just kind of no payoff. But no, overall, I thought it, because they finally got back to the storyline we actually care about.
Yep.
No, I thought it was cool. The ending was interesting with the spoilers. Well, no spoilers. The end was interesting. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Overall, it was really cool. I think if how caught up are you? So if you have the option to actually sit with it and just kind of plow through it, I think that might be almost more beneficial because you can go, those episodes were fine, but it was 30 minutes and 35 minutes and
move on to the next one.
Overall, it ended, and I'm in a good place, and I'm excited to see where the story continues.
Yeah, me too. And you might even be at an advantage having waited, because like you said, you could just blow past those episodes, and it doesn't hurt as much because you can just go to the ones that are good immediately. You don't have to wait a week and wonder if it's going to get back on track, or because it's like 5 was, I think, downright bad, like you said, and 6 had good action and some decent characters, but we didn't need it. No. And I made the joke in the chat. I was like, all right, next time just give us a 6-episode season.
Yeah, for sure.
It's obvious that they were trying to fill some kind of quota for episodes for one reason or the other.
Money?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. But also, save the money, don't shoot that day, and don't shoot those, I don't know.
Don't shoot that entire episode in the one day you obviously shot it in, because
I think it's more of an aesthetics thing, because if they were to detail heading up to the launch of The Mandalorian that it's only a 6-episode season, there'd probably be people that were like, only 6 episodes, this thing's gonna suck or something. So they probably, but honestly, if it was 6 airtight episodes, with, 4 did things to move the story along, though, I think in a big way. But if it was 6 airtight episodes, I think I would be way kind of happier than I am right now. I really enjoyed episode 7, chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
Yeah, which was, God, they went back to Navarro and saw Carl Weathers' character and all teamed up. I already forget what the hell happened in that episode. But the finale, I think, was great. The scout troopers on the bikes at the top of the show with the comedy. I think that was
very Taika Waititi-esque.
Yeah. And all the stuff with IG was great. Him being reprogrammed. Finally got to see Pedro Pascal. Oh, well, sorry. Spoilers. Wow.
I started with no spoilers.
Yeah, you did. Sorry. That was sorry, there was a spoiler. But all in all.
Censor you.
Yeah, just black bars.
Yeah. Drop the voice. I feel like, but I still heard the word.
Yeah, I know. Just there's a shadow over my face. I think all in all, though, I'm in the same boat as you. Yep. I'm excited. I'm glad they came back around and finished strong. And it's funny, though, with kind of where the season 2 is kind of where they kind of leave it off to pick up. I was kind of like, isn't that the line of thinking that he should have had in episode 3, after episode 3? Because there's the God, I'm trying to do it without spoiling it. I can't really, but
threw that out the window about 2 minutes ago.
I know I did. Sorry. Spoilers for Mandalorian Chapter 8.
Plug your ears.
Plug your ears. There's the whole line of thinking of you should find its home world.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what I thought after Chapter 3 had concluded. I was like, that's clearly what he's trying to do. Mm-hmm. He's going to try and return this thing to its proper home. And then we got 3.
But there was a bunch of story they really needed to share with us.
Yeah.
Going back to Spoiler Planet for too long.
Spoiler Planet?
Yeah.
Oh, the original Desert Planet?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so
Jakku?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
We can't go back to Jakku. But
overall, pretty positive on it, and I'm excited for season 2 when it comes.
Jon Favreau put out the little Gamorrean guy. I think he was a Gamorrean. He looked like it.
Fat green pig board thing.
Yeah, looked pretty cool. But then we can kind of touch on, because you look at something like Mando, where it releases week to week, and we kind of already talked about this, but the excitement and kind of anticipation, and I'm sure there are tons of people out there who liked episodes 5 and 6, chapters 5 and 6. So for them, like I've seen people on Twitter say it's an airtight season with no flaws. They love it.
Well,
yeah, I know. But I mean, for some people, I think all 8 episodes worked, and now I feel like The Mandalorian is now like this juggernaut.
yeah.
It doesn't like, I don't get jump up and down excited about it because it's not about the part of Star Wars I love the most, which is always kind of the magical mystery, whimsical force, and how all that stuff ties into it. But I still get excited for it, and it's still Star Wars, and they've done a great job of like taking some of the better aspects of like of the universe and fleshing it out and bringing it in and doing all those things. But then you look at something like Witcher, and 8 episodes in a day, very cool. Liked it. Liked that I wasn't dangled on the edge of a string for a week or whatever. But now I'm like, cool. We'll see it in 2 years probably. So
2 years and then another day and then, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I have shows that like I have a backlog that I would like to watch. Marissa and I watched You, and season 2 just dropped, and I'm waiting to watch it with her. It's a Netflix show, so it all drops at once. You can binge it if you want. So it's tough because I don't have much of anything in my life is weekly. We watch Riverdale, which I'm ashamed to say that I watch, but it's really enjoyable. It's a guilty pleasure show, so that's fine. But that's weekly, so it is cool. It's cool to have, because it's kind of like the old school feeling of like, it's Wednesday, our show's coming out, we can get excited all day for it.
Game of Thrones was like that. Sundays.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why Game of Thrones was as big as it was.
Oh yeah,
it had all right guys, it's the day, the whole country's watching, and tomorrow the whole world's going to talk about it.
Watch parties and people coming together. It was an event.
That's one thing you definitely miss out with when you have bingeable shows, because even if we all decide we're all going to watch You season 2, you'll probably watch it all in one night. I'll watch like 3 episodes, and then in 2 days watch another 2 episodes. So we all have the freedom to kind of watch at our leisure. Mm-hmm. So you can't have that like one episode at this time, we're all going to watch it and we're all going to talk about it. So I think it's more personal preference of just how you like to take in your media. I definitely...
What if they did this? What if they were like Disney Plus, $6.99 a month, Disney Plus Pro, get all of your episodes up front, $20 a month?
No, because then you would have the people who have the Pro spoiling it for people who don't.
You have people spoiling movies like I just did for people who haven't seen things now too. But I think you're right in a piracy sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think there could be like a big thing of like, oh, well, I'll just...
That's a problem with movies.
Yeah.
Because like movies...
There's so much Rise of Skywalker footage going around now.
Yeah. And because movies will release on different dates for different countries. And there's totally been countries that are like, the internet's blowing up and I don't get this movie for another week, which blows my mind. I don't understand what that even... Release your movie.
You would think it'd be worldwide
on this one date.
Right.
I think it's just different countries and how they choose to deal with
just media in general.
I think I read something where it's also culturally, because a lot of countries like the weekends aren't the
I guess that's true.
Big going out. Like they have like Tuesdays are there. I don't know. Like I think it varies culturally too, which is interesting. But like. I think Rise of Skywalker has still yet to come out in certain countries.
Yeah, which is
like I think Thailand, it doesn't get it till like early January.
Yeah,
which I'm like, okay, if they can, if they can, if those poor people in Thailand who know that half the world have already seen it, if they can stay off social media and the internet and somehow avoid spoilers, good for them. First of all, they're pros, but.
I think a lot of it is depending on the country. There are some countries in this world that are more strict as far as what type of media is allowed to be shown in their country. So I would be willing to bet that Disney doesn't send early copies of these movies to these countries, so they have to wait until it's actually released for them to be able to see it. Be like, okay, we don't like that. We don't like that. We don't want the people seeing that. Like, that's offensive. We disagree with that. So they'll pick these movies apart And then a month later, after they've done that and it's gotten approval from, you know, whoever runs the country, then they're like, okay, now we can release it in this edited form.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
Because if you look at something like Star Wars, for example, especially the sequel trilogy, it's always done historically bad in China. And Rise of Skywalker was the worst of the 3 new ones in terms of box office results. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the delayed release. I don't even know when it went out in China. But yeah, I don't know. Because it would be cool, like in theory, paying more for all the content up front.
Yeah, I mean,
Makes
a lot
sense.
of these, you have Hulu with ads, and then you have Hulu without ads. I think a lot of these streaming services do that. They kind of do like, there's a premium version if you don't want to deal with all the BS, but pay us a little more and it's all yours. Streaming services are kind of, I want to say borderline overwhelming, but I know that's just kind of where we're heading. Because I have multiple shows that I would like to watch on multiple services, and it's like keeping track of it's almost...
Keeping track of your fucking bank account and when it's all going to withdraw is like a headache.
And I understand people that pay for cable, whatever it is, $100 a month, and it's all there. Cool, but then you get a bunch of crap you don't need or whatnot.
Commercials.
Yeah, commercials are the bane of my existence, which is so sad that that's kind of where we are in a society, that it's just like, get these commercials out of my life. I just want what I'm here to see, but that's kind of what it is. But I have like...
They're never just like, buy our bread. It's always like some sketch that's awful.
The Stadia, the Stadia ads are some of the worst things I've ever seen.
Dreadful. And I
blame Tim and Eric for all.
They would be better. They would be better if the Stadia itself wasn't such a piece of garbage.
But no, Tim and Eric came into the scene, and it's like they started writing. Like, I know they were like ghostwriters for a lot of like Mountain Dew and Old Spice deodorant, and that's why like all these commercials started just getting like wacky, weird, like the Skittles commercials and all these like odd humor things just kind of took over. But that's besides the point.
Commercials suck.
Yeah, they're really bad. But yeah, like I have Netflix, which I actually don't pay for. My dad took over the account because he watches a lot more than I do. And I was like, hey, if you wanna absorb that payment, go for it. But I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have Amazon Prime, I want to get, I think it's Apple TV or Apple TV Plus or whatever, because M. Night has a show that actually looks kind of interesting.
Have you heard anything about it?
I haven't heard it.
Servant?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look good.
It looks good. I'm pretty sure I get it free through Verizon or something. That's why I have Disney. I mean, I would definitely pay for Disney Plus already. But
it's only $7, but I would, not to get too off topic, but I told Leah, I was like, a year from now, it's going to be like 10 or 12.
Yeah,
there's
for
no
sure.
way it stays that.
That's
price.
so low.
Yeah.
Especially
It's
for
so
Disney.
low.
It's so low. The best anthology film.
False.
I mean, one of two, but yes, I would agree.
Yeah, if a winner and a loser.
Or would I?
But yeah,
maybe
it's interesting how it's kind of, Marissa's not big on it. I don't think she quite grasps like she's like, why do you, I'm like, well, one, it's so all these companies can make more money for themselves as opposed to sharing and
Which is true.
licensing and all that nonsense. But it's kind of like you see what you want and you grab it, and it's kind of the instant gratification society that we're in. It's like, I want this show and like kind of just this show, so I'll give you $8 a month for that show because I don't want to deal with all the extra crap that goes with it. And that's just kind of where it's at. You just got to keep track of it. And
yeah, I went through a thing where I canceled like all of my subscriptions because I had too many things coming out, and I literally had. I think it was my, and this is my fault, just my fault of just like letting it slip by, but it was during school and I had all of these student discounts for these different services, whether it was Spotify and Amazon and whatever, because you get everything like at ridiculously low prices when you're a student. And then I had graduated and they fucking know, man.
if their money is involved,
why
they'll
is
find
you
out.
sent them an email?
Yeah,
hey, just let you know, Mason Edmonds has graduated.
They knew, man. And it was like I got hit with all the full price stuff 1 month, and I calculated it, and it was like $70 or something, which is like twice my electric bill. So,
but half of a lot of cable bills.
Yeah,
which is something like
true.
If like a basic cable plan, it's freaking up there, man. It's
like $100.
Yeah,
for fucking NBC television.
Yeah, it's like you get 800 channels, but half of them you have to pay to actually use. The other ones are just music that's just like the same 6 songs. And
I guess I'll pay for football and CSI Miami 5. Or like,
exactly.
Well, I guess I really need to see those episodes of The Rookie. Like, I've heard The Rookie's pretty good, but that's beside the point. Like,
but yeah, so it's kind of, we're just in an age where you have to know what you want and be willing to pay for that little section of what we used to get.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also so much more at our disposal. It's all on demand. It's not I don't know. I haven't had cable in literally, I don't know.
I haven't been in a household that's had cable since I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, I'm close to that. We never had it when I moved into this house, and I think that was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Cut the cord was like a phrase that was coming up in like the mid-early 2000s, where it was like, you don't really need this like Netflix transitioned between from just doing physical DVDs and whatever to streaming and changed the entire game forever.
Marissa's parents still have a home phone.
Oh man!
And it rang once when I was over, and I was like confused.
What is that?
I was like,
what is that?
I was like, it's coming from multiple rooms. I was like, what are these sirens? I was like, oh, it's the home phone.
Home phone. Leah's parents still have a home phone, and it rings sometimes. And
you get confused.
It's jarring.
I get anxiety because like I hear it and I'm like, oh no. Like, I don't know if it gives me weird anxiety
because you think that like the principal's calling your house from like when you were in 3rd grade or something.
It must be him, because who else would it be calling? But it's like they call or they have it and they never use it. Like and there's always like 16 messages on it. And it's always telemarketers. I'm like, why do you even have it? Yeah, like, just get it out of there. And they always check the messages, and it's always like a butt dial or just static or some kind of sales pitch or
never
something.
Anything of actual importance.
Like, I mean, and it's like her parents are a bit older, obviously, so they do have friends that call here and there, but they all have cell phones, and I'm totally okay with like the kind of select fire nature of how I want to consume my content. But it's getting to the point now where there are so many services where it's like, it's almost a cable bill. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely,
granted, it pays for itself with how much content you watch. And it's not as annoying as a cable subscription or whatever. And you have arguably way more content to watch, between all of the different services, but there are so many.
And there are ways to, if you're smart about it, like if I didn't get Apple TV for free, I don't even remember how, I think it's through my phone bill, but most of these subscription services give you your 1 week free. So it's like, all right, I know there's that one show I want to watch, so I have 7 days to do it. And
there's also the shameless, like I get my Netflix from you.
Yeah, that will forever be just a part of you buddy up with a couple friends, and I got it, don't sweat it.
And that's kind of a loophole to the system of like.
Well, they're trying to fix that too. They're trying to close that loophole.
Like completely, or is it just like pay for more accounts?
Like completely.
One account per. Like that's just
like household or something. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but
hey man,
that's the biggest argument against. Well, there's a couple, but a few years ago, might have been more than a few at this point. They were exploring the whole releasing a new film like a pay-per-view at your home instead of going out to the theater.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love that. Like, I cannot wait till the day where I can sit down on my couch in the comfort of my own home and watch
a new movie.
Yeah, watch a new Star Wars or watch a new whatever.
How much would that cost?
That's the thing, is like, I think they did like, I don't know if it was $40 or $50 per viewing, but the thing that they can't control is it's like, you don't know how many people are in that living room.
You could have 15 people in there.
Yeah, you could all pile, like if I had the new Star Wars like on ready to go on my DVR, like I would get like 26 people in there.
Just rows.
Like just like a theater.
Sauce, and you guys, it's gonna get warm.
And if you split the cost, it's what, $2 or $3 a person. Whereas if you go to the movie theater, it's 13.
I'm sure that was a big part of why we haven't seen it yet.
I thought of a system just kind of off the top of my head where it's like, all right, you have a QR code on the TV. Each person has to download some kind of weird app, You have the app, scan the QR code, and then your price is formulated.
Yeah.
But then they still can't like keep people out of your living room.
Yeah.
So
and I'm sure that's just a balance of, I mean, pay-per-views are still a thing. Like that's still,
especially for fights.
I remember, wrestling used to be like, I used to watch wrestling avidly. And I think it was like $60 per event or whatever. And it's
UFC is still like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boxing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I love going to the theater though. It's an event, and I think you know,
it's a good experience to have.
Yeah, especially when you get into a good theater. Obviously, the thing that usually ruins the theater experience is other people.
For sure.
You know,
people suck.
People do genuinely.
No, they
sometimes they're okay. I love people. But yeah, you know, that's a small price to pay for. You know, the sound, the screen, the experience, the. And
I'm big on all. Some people are super casual and like don't care, but I have people in my life that make fun of me, like how I watch like my home setup. Like I make sure it's a pretty bump-in sound system, and I want like a really good picture, and like
you
adjusting
want it to be a
things.
good quality when you're watching it.
Some people are like, some people are cool with watching a ripped version of a filmed thing that has subtitles from Korea that's
shaky cell phone,
and they're like, yeah, whatever, but I got it in my hand. I'm like, you're watching the new Avengers on a 32-inch 720p, like backwards. I'm like, all right, well, if you don't value that, then that's on you, I guess. To each their own.
Yep. The same reason why you have such, why you feel that way about movies is the same reason why I own a PC to game.
Yeah,
because I want the same, like I want the best experience if I can get it. But I'm the same way with movies too. I've never been one to be like, what's that thing that everyone has? And I might be dating myself by saying this, but isn't it called Kodi? It's like
like the Fire Stick.
Yeah, it's like a Fire Stick jailbreak that has it's like a app that has all these movies on it, and I'm cool, I guess, but like I'm also just weird about like, I want to support the movies, you know, especially if I like it. Because
I've been at a few people's houses that have that, and they've used it, and I just remember sitting there for a half hour, them going through like each different source trying to find a watchable, watchable version of it.
It's like LimeWire's back. Yeah, like you're trying to like find the actual version of the song.
You're just not giving your TV fucking cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Download LimeWire and your computer explodes.
Is that even a thing anymore?
I don't think so.
I think it is. I think LimeWire is still a thing. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but I thought I read or saw something where it's like, LimeWire's back.
Back and better than ever.
Yeah. Start your free subscription. No, I don't know. Streaming services are crazy, though, because I think eventually we are going to get to that reality where it's like things are just going to be released at home, and they're going to figure out some weird way. You're going to pay some, crazy amount of money. But then the other facet of this that we didn't discuss is you need, like, theaters are going to go out of business, because theaters, like the way they stay open, they get about 30% of each movie ticket, and then they stay open because of concessions.
Yeah.
So, like,
and boy, do they stress that in the dollar theater.
They sure do.
Yeah.
What do they say? What do they say do they have like special signage or something?
They have the signs. They have like the 4-minute long, the one.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I get it. If you get relatively new movies for $3, then yeah, you gotta spend $34 on a large popcorn. But that's fine.
If VR headsets take off, you could have VR watch parties where they still they have virtual theaters now.
Yeah.
Have you seen the commercials with who is it? Jonah Hill and whoever, and they're each wearing like
Adam Levine. What do you mean whoever?
Yeah, sorry, Adam Levine and Jonah Hill, and but they're in this like little virtual theater and they have headsets on. That would be a great way to be like, watch Star Wars Episode 88 and and then buy it on your Oculus whatever, and then because 2 people can't wear that thing.
Yeah,
right.
We also will be mind controlled by then.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy.
No.
But speaking of Star Wars, we all saw The Rise of Skywalker one more time. We all have seen it twice now.
Yes.
3 times.
You've seen it 3 times?
When did you see it again?
We went with my family on Christmas Day.
Very cool.
How do you feel about it having seen it?
It got better the 3rd time.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It seems to get better. I enjoyed it more the second time. Anything that was shocking is less jarring, and you could kind of just sit down and digest it as it's coming at you.
You can try to look at more of what's on the screen instead of just trying to absorb everything that's being thrown at you. Because like we discussed the other day, it's a very fast movie.
It felt way less fast the second time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like I could actually not only comprehend what was going on, but enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like in a way that I don't know. I think and this will feed into like our next point, but for me, the movie was, when we saw it the second time, it was night and day. Like the credits rolled and I was like, wow, I love this movie. Like as opposed to the night where we all got back and watched it, or we all got back from our initial viewing and we were all just kind of torn on it. Mm-hmm. Taylor, I think you really liked it from the outset.
I did.
Mike and I were torn. Leah loved it. I think it just, I don't know, when it comes to this movie in particular, it does throw so much information at you in such kind of a short amount of time that you can't help but like, you're in this like analytical processing frame of mind where you can't necessarily enjoy it because you're just taking in all the information and trying to process it, at least for me. And then seeing it the second time, knowing the big twists were coming, knowing how the movie moved.
You're just in a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
You really
like,
are.
and I remember the night that we all went back to see it, I was like, I might think it's a little bit better, but I'm not going to like really budge on it too much. And I was like, holy shit. Like it all worked for me in a way that it had never really worked the first time, like all of it.
That's cool.
And, I don't want to touch on any spoilers cause it's still quite new, but, I don't know. And that goes into the topic of like, how do you guys feel about just second viewings in general? Because I've been trying to do that more and more lately. If I have time I did it with Marriage Story. I watched that twice, enjoyed it even more the second time. I've seen The Irishman twice. Don't know how I found the time to do that, but
that's like it.
Yeah. I watched it by
a whole day of your life.
Yeah. I watched it like Thanksgiving Day morning. I like got up super early and watched it then. And then, I watched it once with Leah.
Oh, okay.
And even seeing that movie twice, I was like, okay, like you're able to, for me, I think it's this thing of I'm able to kind of turn off the more analytical side of my brain and kind of look at the movie from a different perspective. Yeah. Kind of not I don't want to say turn your brain off and have fun perspective, because that's not necessarily it. Perspective of, I know what the film does now. I've seen it. So I kind of know what it can bring to the table. Now let me just sit back and kind of look at it from a different perspective, because I kind of understand it generally now. I don't know. But yeah, what do you think? Like
taking something in more than once, I think in general is, I mean, if you want to relate it to music, like the first time you listen to a song, hey, that's a really great song. Second time you listen to it, kind of starts to stick in your brain more. I mean, it's how your brain works. Movies are definitely a bit more of a commitment, because obviously they're normally 2 hours, 2.5 hours or whatever. But if you're torn on something or you like something and just want to enjoy it again, I definitely think you benefit from a second, even a third viewing. Because again, your brain's just in a different, when it's not everything new coming at you and the back of your brain already kind of knows what to expect. Yeah. You see things differently. You can take information in differently. And something as jam-packed as Star Wars definitely benefits. I know there's a lot of, I had a friend of mine, he was like, "Why, you just saw it, like, why are you going to go see it again?" And I was like, believe me, this will be a different experience, for better or for worse, because it's not always for better. Sometimes you watch it again and you're like, I thought that was bad when I saw it the first time, but wow, is it bad now that I'm really like reflecting on it? So it's not strictly a positive
Last
thing.
Jedi.
I was thinking I wasn't going to say it.
Exactly. But I think, and not everyone has the opportunity to go. I mean, going to the theater can be a big thing for people with family. Like if you have kids, or not everyone has the opportunity, whether it's financially or just dedicating the time. But multiple viewings, definitely. Yeah. It's something that everyone should kind of give a shot to, especially if it's something you're on the fence with or are leaning towards liking. But yeah, no, for me, the second viewing was definitely like, all right, this movie is still definitely a little crazy, kooky, but it's charming as shit. And I definitely, the things that bothered me at first, now that I know what's going on, aren't really bothering me as much now that I can kind of see it in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, no, the second viewing was really good.
Yeah, I think it's kind of brilliant. Like I've said this to you guys multiple times before, but it never loses sight of its characters for how quick The Rise of Skywalker moves. It always puts its characters at the center of the journey, and it doesn't lose sight of those things. And there was something on Twitter I posted in this thread. Someone was like, "What's your most underrated Rise of Skywalker thing that no one's talking about?" And I posted in the thread just out of curiosity to see if anybody agreed with me. And I posted, there's a moment, spoilers for Rise of Skywalker, I guess, but there's a moment where Rey is fighting Kylo on the surface of the Death Star 2 wreckage, and Finn is running to assumedly help her, and she's like, no, and she force pushes him back.
It's not really a spoiler. That was in a trailer.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I don't know if you caught it. There's a split-second moment right after that happens and he falls and lands that she like looks over to check to see if he's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And little stuff like that is so important when you're developing and when you're developing characters. It's incredibly important because like just that little moment of her looking to check to see if he's okay shows the audience that, one, she wasn't mad at him. She's just trying to protect him.
Yeah.
Two, she realizes how she kind of went a little bit overboard and saying, oh shit. And three, it reinforces the relationship that they have. And like,
she remembers the last time that Finn got in the middle of Kylo Ren and Rey. He got his ass beat.
He got lit.
That's another layer of it too. And like the movie is full of those little moments.
Yeah.
And as we were watching it the second time, this was big for me too. Is the plot a little kooky crazy at some points? Yeah, I think it's a little less nuts having seen it twice because it's coherent. It makes sense.
Yeah.
People who are walking out of this movie saying that the plot is incredibly convoluted and baffling, and I'm like, I don't really understand. It's very simple. If anything, its simplicity is what I guess you could say hurts it because it's find this device to get to this place to kill this thing. That's all it is.
Yeah. And
then it's about how the characters react to those circumstances and the push and the pull and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It worked for me on almost every single level. There's still a couple of things that don't really work for me, but yeah, I had a broader point that I totally forgot.
Second viewing.
Yeah.
Second viewing.
Yeah, I think, but I also, like, I don't, for something like this, I think it's kind of mandatory, but there are plenty of movies that you watch that you're just kind of like, I saw it the first time and I get it and I don't need to see it again, you know? But there are those little moments all throughout that movie and it makes the whole thing just kind of, I don't know, more fun to watch, more enjoyable to watch. It all feels kind of earned in a way. Like the craziness feels a little bit more earned when you pay attention to what makes these movies work, which are the characters. So, yeah, I think that watching movies twice is cool. I don't think it's mandatory though. But I wonder though if it would have been received so poorly if people had like, hey, write your reviews, but you got to see it twice. Like, yeah. I wonder. But see, that's such a shitty thing because
not everyone's going to see it twice.
And they shouldn't have to.
Most people aren't.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have to. You know, it's a movie's job to kind of
put a good impression the first time.
Yeah. So I think that there's things about it that work for me just as well as they did the first time, and then more that work for me even more. And then there's a couple little things now that I'm like kind of just don't like.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. This was the bigger point that I was getting to. There wasn't a moment in this movie where I was like, oh fuck, this part's coming.
No.
I was always like, oh shit, sweet, this is coming up next. Oh, this is next. Oh, this is next.
Give you a minute to go.
I know.
Oh man, this part, because I'm already in that part. All right.
Yep, and they're always compelling and fun to watch. Whereas you look at something like The Last Jedi, where it constantly intercuts back to things that are frustrating to watch. Some would say
An entire planet.
Yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about The Rise of Skywalker, but it's a far more entertaining film, I think, on every level.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
curious to see how much The Last Jedi benefits from just like if you do a full run through of the sequel trilogy, if that kind of... And
I got a little bit less of the... Because I kind of want to fix something I said after... Not fix it, but it's funny how opinions change. And
back.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, too, is people who talk about movies are so scared to change their opinions. I'll say it right here. My opinion on The Rise of Skywalker has changed. Like, I think that... Oh, God. I keep losing my points. Yeah, no, my opinion's changed on the movie, and it's great.
Yes.
We're gonna come back to it because my mind's scatterbrained and I can't think of things right now. Going on to reviews though. Do you think they hurt more than they help?
I've definitely shied away from them as of recently. It used to be a few years ago. Reviews were like a big part of just my entertainment. I was huge on Chris Stuckman, Jeremy Johns. When AMC was like, or Collider was, I was very into just, I liked their opinions and I liked to see what, and then I noticed that it definitely colored my viewing experience. If I really like this person's opinion and they don't like a movie, I go into that movie automatically thinking, well,
I'm not going to like this movie.
Someone I respect and appreciate or whatever isn't a huge fan of it. I probably shouldn't be a huge fan of it, which is not the best way to think. So if I'm watching any reviews, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be after the movie because I've already, in my mind, decided if I like it or not, what I do like, what I don't like. And then I'll go and see different people's opinions, try not to let it color my opinion from there. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, we did a review, so obviously it's cool to have that dialogue. I think when you check out the review is big on how it, again, colors you going into the movie.
Yeah, that's a big part too, because if you look at a perfect example being Rise of Skywalker, like... if I could, I would just completely go black or go dark and not look at any reviews, not look at any social media impressions, and I would go in blind.
That's what I try to do, and then you're like, watch this.
Hey, look, I know. It's like when there's something coming out that I get really obsessive when new things are coming out that I can't wait for.
Mm-hmm. It's fun to be excited.
Yeah, it is.
That simple.
It is. It is very fun to be excited, especially when, you're like, oh man, hey, this could make life just a little bit more, just a little bit brighter, I wish, though, that I could completely ignore and not hear. But even if you're not looking for it, like you would have to go on a complete social media boycott.
Oh, yeah.
Which for weeks to not get anything spoiled, to not even hear anybody's impressions. And it's that simple thing of like, if you hear that, you read a tweet from Jeremy Johns on Twitter and it says Rise of Skywalker, just, for, I don't know, argument's sake, this isn't what he said, but he's like, Rise of Skywalker is slow in the beginning, but it picks up in the middle, but the end is choppy. Now, that's what's going to be in your head when you watch it. You're not going to be in the moment in the movie anymore. You're not going to be having your own feelings about it. You are.
Hey, man, when John Campea said the first 2 hours of Endgame...
Yeah, he was like, the first 90 minutes are mediocre. But I went into that movie, I think that's like the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. But like when I went into that movie, and I love that movie. But I'm not like I'm not a Marvel diehard.
Yeah.
So I was always just like, I just want to have fun and enjoy it. And I did. But it's interesting how reviews can color a film's narrative, like its cultural narrative.
Yeah.
And like, because I don't think The Rise of Skywalker deserves 50 some odd % in critic reviews.
No, Rotten Tomatoes has totally become way more important than I think it originally was designed to be. I remember distinctly, I don't remember what movie it was for, but I was watching a trailer for a movie and they were like, Rotten Tomatoes score, and I was like, what is this thing, first off? And now it's kind of like the Bible of if it's good or bad. And then you have the Rotten Tomatoes critic score and the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, which tend not to coincide.
I would say the audience score would be more important.
Yeah, definitely.
I
but
agree.
it also depends on where you lie. There's a lot of people that are super casual with their viewing, and almost every movie's a good movie because it's just, oh, I went and I saw it and it was something to watch. And
yeah, but if you're writing a review on Rotten Tomatoes, you have to be at least somewhat of a movie fan. Like, if you're just a casual viewer, you're not going to think, oh, I'm going to go write a review on Rotten Tomatoes about this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have to be certified, whatever
you do.
that process is. But
I have no idea what the process is, but I'm pretty sure you do have to be certified. It can't just be like an IMDb where if you have an account, you can just leave a star rating. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of ashamed with myself because I started doing this. I recognized this throughout high school where, kind of looking at it through a gaming light, sites like IGN and GameSpot and all these big media sites that cover games, they take this experience and they slap a number on it. Mm-hmm. And you look at that number and you dictate whether or not you're somehow going to or not going to have any kind of emotional response or connection with the product.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me that you can take something like they help in a weird way, but in the same way, it's insane to me that you can take something that may span hundreds of hours or that might be different for everybody who plays it
and assign a number
and put a number on it and say it's good or bad. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's black and white journalism, like where there's no nuance or shades of gray or like, because it's just, to me, it's an archaic, outdated way of reviewing things, is trying to attach a number value to something that is essentially, at the end of the day, it's going to evoke emotion from you or it's not. You're going to be connected mentally or you're not. Like, and all of that working together is so much more powerful or so much more, you can't quantify it with a number, I don't think.
Which is why I kind of started, because I do still enjoy reviews, but I treat them more as conversation as opposed to information, if that makes sense. Like, I like Chris Stuckman a lot. I like Jeremy Johns. I still go, John Campea, I go to them, again, after the movie or after whatever. I've formulated my opinion. I know what I think. Now let's see what they think. It's more of a conversation piece as opposed to, please tell me what I should feel about this particular piece of art, entertainment, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
I mean, that's a good point. And when you look at sites like IGN, we see these review scores and we look at them and then we're like, oh, like it's awesome to see like a game that you're excited about and get like a 9 or a 10. And that makes you feel all good inside because you're like, oh, this thing that I really wanted to be good is good. Cool. But like, they don't matter. Like a game, when's the last time you saw a game on IGN get like a fucking anything below a 7? Anything that's AAA, anything that's AAA below a 7.
Yeah. They a lot of their score goes towards the title. Like if it's Call of Duty, if it's Madden, if it's any huge like AAA series game, like no matter how good it is, 7.
There seems to be a basement and
and everyone, the big online internet accusation towards them is they get paid for their reviews.
I think the only exception that can be made, and I can look it up right now, is the new Ghost Recon game, which was absolutely dreadful. I think they gave it like a 5. Actually,
with a game check it if you want. But with a game that is that dreadful, I think that they would have no choice but to give it a 5, or else people are going to be like, something's in the water over there. Because the biggest accusation towards them is like, oh, like these publishers and these video game companies are paying IGN to
6 out of 10. One of the worst games.
It should have been at least a 3. Like that game is broken, like through and through.
So here's their summary. Ubisoft's latest tale of Ghosts is an overly familiar romp with too many pieces that don't work together for an ultimately disjointed open-world shooter.
6.
That doesn't sound like a 6 to me.
Yeah, go down to the blurb, and I'm not just trying to turn this into a hit piece on IGN, but go down to the blurb where they go the pros and cons. Because I always find it interesting when they say nothing but positives or nothing but negatives, and then the game's like 7.2. I'm like, what did you like about it then? You must have liked something.
The lighting engine was great.
I see all cons there and hardly any pros.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's such an outdated, archaic way of looking at art.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I like long form sites that like a Giant Bomb or like a Kind of Funny or something where it's like
Talk about it.
yeah,
Don't just be
talk
like,
about it, put your opinions out there. You can have valid criticisms, but like you can't just put a number on something. Like
And
that's
again,
just
it's all subjective.
Yeah.
And that's really, that point needs to be hammered home, that like it's something you watch and emote to, and everyone's opinion is going to be different in some way or form, and you just have to take that into consideration.
yeah. Because you know what I hate, you could love,
Yeah.
vice versa. You know, but like some of my like take Rise of Skywalker for instance. I think it has a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes now. Love that movie. Like, and if you would tell me, and that's the thing is I put way too much credence in these numbers. I
Yeah.
still do.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like mechanically
Well, I mean,
trained to be like, oh, it's got below a 7. I
what
shouldn't play it or
happens
watch
from
it.
kindergarten to the end of college?
You're graded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's in the very, very deep-seated part of our brain. The lower the number, the worse it is.
Yeah,
The higher the number, the
100%.
better it is. It's just,
And I do think there's, you know, because I'm big on, I hate wasting my time.
Yeah.
Like I hate, some people will watch whatever or play whatever just to experience it. And while I think there's so much merit in that, and I wish I could do that, like I wish I could just, if I had the money, I wish I could just go to the theater and see fuck all.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, just to experience it, because as much as you learn from good things, you learn from bad things
Oh,
too,
yeah, for
because you're like, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that if I ever want to create something that's like it or whatever. If I want to like hone my critique and how I look at things, however it is. But I tend to see something and I'm like, oh, it's not doing too hot. Maybe I'll save my money, you know? And that's a big thing too. I think reviews and things like Rotten Tomatoes, they're really made for just the everyday consumer,
Yeah.
you know? Because it is about like, hey, you're working hard for your money. You'll never get your time back. So here's what you should be doing with it. Or here's what, we skip this one because it's not that great. Or, hey, you're really going to want to see this. You won't be disappointed if you put your money into it. So I don't know. I think it's, I think they've gone a bit far, but I think that hopefully long form things like this kind of take over, and well, they kind of already have, but I don't know.
At least we're doing more than assigning a number.
Yeah, that's why I never. How do you think about this thing? Now, well,
6
9
out of 10.
Yeah, it
It's
never.
awful. 6.
it was terrible, but they're paying me 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I don't think that that's a reality.
No, I don't think so either.
Because
funny to talk
there's so many people that work there, and they would all have to kind of agree. Like that's such a shady ethical thing to be like, hey, listen, I know you're playing Predator Hunting Grounds when it comes out, and I know
I'm sure it's going to be a 6.
I know it's real bad, but you need to give it at least a 9, or else we're not going to get this. You know, we're not going to get this bonus of
Hey man, conspiracies
20K
are
or
fun.
conspiracies are fun. What else do we have to talk about?
How's the game going?
Yeah, what's the score?
It's 13-0. Ohio State's winning.
Really?
Yeah.
Tight.
They're playing Clemson.
They're playing Clemson. If you weren't sure, I'm streaming the football game
No.
on YouTube
You're looking.
TV.
You're looking over notes. You are.
and looking at Ghost
You're
Recon.
looking at Ghost Recon. Yeah, you're our entertainment center.
I'm trying to think if there's anything. I don't even know what kind of time we're running on here. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I didn't bring up that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully, we can all go see 1917 when it drops.
Yeah, I'm really excited
100%.
about that.
It looks
That is the
very,
one
very-
review that I watched ahead of time, and it got me more excited,
Yeah.
which is cool.
It
The
looks
power
very
of
good.
reviews.
Stuff like that. I see you kind of go about it kind of the opposite way than I do. Like you formulate your opinion, then you come back and watch what other people say. I'm the exact opposite. I see what people say, then I formulate my own opinion, and then everyone can fuck off.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want to. I know what I think now. I don't want it to not think that way. Like, I'm purposefully not watching the Red Letter Media video for Rise of Skywalker
They just
because I'm
wreck it.
sure they just
Yeah.
tear it apart, which is kind of like their thing. But like,
John Campea is not. He went on like a whole thing about how much he doesn't like it.
that's crazy to me.
But I chose to like watch it because I definitely want to. We've talked about this before.
Exactly.
people tend to have the please justify my thoughts.
Confirmation bias thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I've been working on, because it's tempting to be like, you don't think how I think? Off. But I'm like, no. Hear their thoughts, opinions, let that bounce off of me. And
that's you're 100% right. And I think that I will get around to watching that like Red Letter Media video and stuff. But to me, it's like a thing of like, I put so much of my own emotional energy into it when it was coming out. And I'm just like, okay, it's actually way better than I thought. I don't want you to tear that down for me just yet.
And Star Wars is always going to have a bit more of a oomph to any...
If it was just some random movie I saw on a Tuesday, I'd be like, oh, cool, let me see what you think.
Yeah.
But you bring up a great point, and we have talked about that, about like we try to watch things that don't necessarily coincide with what we feel, just so we can get other perspective on it.
And I think that's just a societal thing. That's news. It's more than just entertainment. That's confirmation bias is just kind of a part of our DNA.
Yeah. Because you can. That's funny too. We watched Last Jedi reviews, like multiple different reviews leading up to episode 9, just to kind of see what other people think. And it's interesting hearing other people's perspectives, whether or not you agree with it or not. Like to me, having seen episode 9 again, it's crazy to me that you would like 8 over 9. Like that's nuts to me, because I think 9 is just a much more fun movie. It's enjoyable. The writing is still there. It's a little kooky, a little crazy. It doesn't have as much breathing time as 8 does. It can't really revel in the moments it sets up as much as episode 8 can. But it has emotional payoff, and it's enjoyable to watch, and the characters are still there, and things feel like they actually matter, and it doesn't feel like antimatter and all that stuff. But again, it's like someone could feel the exact opposite. Like, you said John Campea doesn't like 9, and that interests me, and it's like, I like his show too, because it's just more, let's talk about stuff. Yeah. Not going to give things a metric value or...
I'm more into conversation than end result.
Yeah, for sure. You have anything else to add, Taylor?
No, you guys covered it, I think.
Taylor just wants to go watch football.
So right now, why is episode 2 better than episode 1?
I think episode 2, there's more.
We're not doing this right now.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Not a chance.
Thanks, guys. That's been the 4th episode of Notes for Next Time. We here at Category 7, we hope you've had a good holiday, a jolly holiday, and we'll see you soon. I'm Mason.
Taylor.
And Mike.
Bye, guys.
2's better than 1.